Welcome to Trainz! Hello there, friends, and welcome to Trainz Reviews. Today we've got a buff. So what we've got here for you today is a big old Corgi diecast airplane. This is the Corgi US 33508. Trainz SKU is P12048667. Price of time of filming is $220.99. It's a 1:144 scale Boeing B-52H Stratofortress. It's more commonly referred to as the Buff, which stands for Big Ugly Fat Friend. So let's take it out of the package here and see what all we've got. This is painted for the 7th Bomber Wing of Strategic Air Command. Not the most colorful paint scheme, but you know, with the military aircraft, that's kind of what you expect. We do have some nose art and numbering. We've got the state of Texas on the side here. The tail tells us USAF 00014, Fort Worth, Texas. And it is an imposing machine here. I mean, its wingspan is long, my forearm to fingers. So that's pretty darn cool. But let's give it a spin here and we'll talk a little history for you. Now, the B-52 is one of a handful of aircraft designs that are expected to reach a century of service with the United States Air Force. And if you are a military buff, why don't you comment below what the others are? This guy has outlasted multiple attempts to retire and replace it. It fought against the B-58 Hustler and knocked it out. It went up against the B-1 Lancer and knocked that one out. And even the B-2 Spirit, the stealth bomber, could not knock the B-52 out of its position. It is a cheap to operate, relatively speaking, long-distance strategic bomber with an enormous bomb load and an incredible range. They've been used to carry bombs, guided missiles. It was one part of the nuclear triad. I think it still might be. So this is an airplane that kind of does it all. It was initially designed for high-altitude operations, but as radar developed during the Cold War, they realized high and fast was not going to cut it. They needed to get as low to the ground as possible so that the airplane would get lost in the clutter, right, of the terrain. So the radar return would be bouncing off the plane, yes, but also trees and landscape and stuff like that, and you wouldn't be able to see it as well. The switch from high altitude to low altitude operations put a huge stress on the aircraft. So right now we're on the B-52H model. Over time, and I think there are 76 currently in existence, right? And they've had their wings reskinned a couple times. The wing box has been redesigned and strengthened because the extreme stress of flying high speed, low altitude is really rough on the airframes. And then the engines here are probably the most unique aspect of the plane. We have 4 engine pods, yes, but each one contains 2 engines. So we got 8 engines on this thing. It's a little bit excessive in my opinion. They started out with the Pratt & Whitney J57 turbojet, right? And then in the 1960s, they switched over to the TF-33 turbofan, which was much more fuel efficient, cleaner, gave you more power, which helped improve range, right? And for a strategic bomber that's meant to fly over the Arctic Circle and into Russia and back again, range is very important. We're actually in the middle of another engine upgrade. The United States Air Force is working on switching over yet again to, I think it's a Rolls-Royce? Yes, the Rolls-Royce F-130 turbofan design. But even though modern engines are much more powerful, and you might expect, oh, we'll just do 4 engines, you know, to replace 8, you would have to change so much about the rudder of the aircraft, the control systems, the wing structure, that they've decided that they're still going to stick to 8 engines. So lots of power. But, you know, if you're ever flying and you suddenly have an engine out, well, you can still make a 7-engine approach and survive. I'm joking, but the design of the aircraft really is built around very gentle movements. You know, the wings are so long that they flex up and down 32 feet in flight. So they don't have conventional ailerons like you would expect. They have spoilers instead. If you used an aileron, the wing might flex and twist too much, and you'd end up in control reversal. And you don't want that. So spoilers instead will pop up, and that'll increase drag on one side or the other, and that'll help kind of turn the aircraft. And the rudder, as tall and big as it is, has a very small component that actually moves. So again, we're talking gentle movements as we're flying. And having the 8 engines, you can use asymmetrical thrust, you know, a little more power here, a little less power here, to kind of yaw it into a turn. So it's an interesting low stress design. So this Corgi model does have a couple different features. I'm going to take it off the stand real quick. Ooh. This is an all metal stand, by the way. It's very nice and sturdy, but I'll just put you out of the way. Underneath here, the landing gear, you have these panels that can be removed gently. Let's take those off. So as you might be able to tell, this features bicycle landing gear. So there's a gear here, 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 and here. So when you come down or take off, the gear can be rotated up to 20 degrees to help it when you're taking off or landing in a crosswind. And then to help support the huge wingspan, there are little auxiliary gear, come on over, like so, that plug in way at the end of the wingtips to help keep them from dragging on the ground. And then our bomb bay, it's cast in, it's not, can't be opened, but that would be where you carry all of your crazy arsenal. Early models did have a tail gunner, but over time they got rid of that, and it's mostly electronic warfare, jamming and stuff like that these days. So it is very interesting, very interesting aircraft. But hey, you know, one of the craziest things, I talked about this being one of the century aircraft, right? It's expected to reach a century in service. There are families out there. There's at least one family that I read about that had 3 generations flying the same aircraft. So grandfather, father, and son, all in the United States Air Force, all of them flying the B-52 bomber. And if it's going to stay in operation until the 2050s, probably be able to squeak in an extra generation there, which to me is just wild, you know? So many aircraft designs are here and gone in like 10 years or less, and then this guy is just soldiering on, decade after decade after decade, and persistence, I guess. It's wild. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd be so kind, and until next week, have a great one.
Trainz.com. Making dreams come true, one train at a time.